that are going on. Well, that's what we do here. And I have three lines in Youngstown open as we start our broadcast here for this hour. If you have any legal questions, pick up the phone and give us a call. 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977. Once again, 330-729-9977 will get you through to us on News Radio 570 WKBN. 330-729-9977. Pick up the phone, give us a call, and we'll try to answer whatever questions that you might have. Three lines open there for legal questions for the next hour till 6 o'clock.
Nice haircut, Lee.
On News Radio 570 WKBN. Now let's go down to the law firm of Beatrice Kopp and check in with our attorneys. Who do we have around the big table tonight?
Oh, we're loaded, Ron. Loaded.
That is the voice. I recognize that voice. That is the voice of the best family law lawyer around. You know, I've done this program a long time, and I've been around a long time. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. When it comes to family law, you won't find a more honest guy. You won't find a more decent human being. And you won't find a more knowledgeable person than the guy on the end of this phone line. And believe me, a lot of these divorce guys are snakes. This guy is not.
Thank you, Ron.
It's a gem. It's attorney Mark DeVecchio from the firm Beatrice Kopp. He has all the family law issues.
Thank you. I'm touched. That was wonderful. That was very nice of you. Thank you.
And it's heartfelt. And I mean, there's a big difference between, it has to do with character, folks. It has to do with a person's character and mentality and what they're all about. And your parents instilled some good stuff in you. So, when it comes to family law, you are not family law. Well, family law is the right term.
Yeah.
You are the best at it, but you practice all types of law in addition to that. So you're well versed on all aspects of the law. But when it comes to the family issues, child support, divorce, custody, you're the best.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that more than you could ever imagine. That means who's
with you tonight?
I have attorney James Melfi, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, Ron?
Well, there is attorney James Melfi. I remember the day Melfi joined the firm. Oh, I was a little skeptical. He was wet behind the ears. But boy, has Melfi come along very, very quickly. I might have to admit to you, Melfi, that I might have underestimated you in the beginning. But boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, you have soared. You've become an excellent attorney and guy doing a lot of the civil stuff and a great attorney and great litigator. So kudos to you, Melfi.
I appreciate that.
So you do an outstanding job.
I never underestimated him, Ron. I knew he was capable of greatness.
I did in the beginning. Boy, I tell you that I read that wrong. So Melfi, my apologies.
And that's my favorite way to be estimated, which is
Underestimated. That's right.
You should have seen what my wife did. Thought of me during our honeymoon. Boy, talk about And unfortunately, I lived up to that. All right. So let's see. Is that it? No,
that's it.
Where is everybody?
Coaching baseball.
Okay.
Tonight.
That I get that. Kids, I understand
David
that.
David was in Marion County.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So can we all just give a big
you could
relax a little bit,
take a breath. You're not going to hear wrestling in the microphone. You're not going to hear, hey, Ron, I'm on TikTok. Yeah, you're not going to hear any of that.
This is as smooth as it's ever been. You guys, both your microphones work. There isn't a bunch of noise, and we're all good to go.
You don't have someone saying, Ron, can I tell you about this? Ron.
But I miss him. I mean, I confess this to you while I'm at the beginning of the program. In all seriousness, I find Beatrice fascinating. When Dave talks about his life or what's going on, and it's hilarious to me, and it's fascinating.
He's a character.
He is a character, and he's been vaccinated so many times, and he still gets COVID all the time.
Yeah, he's about a half step away from a lobotomy all the times he's been vaccinated.
Right. Let me see who's here. Hello, it's the Legal Show. You got a question?
Actually, I do. I'm not real sure if this is considered a legal question or more of a finance question, but I'm a 100% disabled veteran and also have my Social Security. And I was told, and this is just hearsay, I'm guessing, that I'm unable to have investment while I'm on Social Security. Like that it's considered an income, and they would,
Yes.
Are you on Social Security disability or standard Social Security?
disability.
Okay.
Well-
I don't know those rules.
First off, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Welcome, Mark.
Uh,
Oh, you're talking to him.
Yes, the caller. Thank you, caller. But yeah, if you're on social security disability, your income is limited, and I believe, don't hold me to this, but I know I'm in the ballpark, to $1,200 a month. So if you earn more than $1,200 a month, you're risking your disability payment. So that's accurate.
Forever?
Yes, yeah. I mean,
There's no age limit on it. Like, if you in regular Social Security, once you reach your full retirement age, you can make as much as you want. But that isn't the case.
no, it's directly related to income, because Social Security disability is to supplement those that don't have a threshold income. If you have a threshold income, and like I said, I believe it's it's anything under 1,200 or in that ballpark. Anything under that, you're okay, you're safe. Anything over that, it gets a little sketchy. So
You mean monthly, Mark? And
Monthly.
you can generate.
yes, and
So if he would just help me out with this, if he would have a CD, and he would get whatever the interest on that, as long as it's below $1,200.
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be a pretty darn good CD if you were getting over 1,200 a month on it. So
Or if he had stocks, or I don't know how that would work. I don't know.
Well, if he has
what the
assets
account-
too, which you can also look at, if you see a trust lawyer, they can do a special needs trust,
Yeah.
which could.
Do you have what type of income do you have, caller?
It's just the VA is my 100% disability, and that's a little over. It's like 404,000 or something like that.
A month. How much does the VA get you a month?
Like 4,400, just a little over 4,400.
All right, and you also get Social Security disability.
Yes.
And how much is that roughly?
Well, it's currently it's only $644 a month, but they also have, like, I've got outstanding child support that they're taking out like $900 a month for the next 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. That'll be coming out.
Out of your disability, Social Security disability.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Mark, you got anything more to add to that? That's really a good question for.
yeah, you could do some creative financing, monthly creative financing to keep you under that threshold amount so that you don't jeopardize your Social Security disability income.
Okay.
If I was to put it in a trust, would that make any kind of difference? Would that still be considered personal?
You need a good estate attorney.
A estate attorney. Yeah, I
mean,
State attorney?
yeah, that's what.
because there's certain types of trust, like a special needs trust, that could help kind of shield some of that from being accounted for in your
And-
disability.
Also, and that's you bring up an interesting point, because if you are receiving Social Security disability, they do look at any other income. They'll look at wages, salary, investment income, income off of interests. So, all of those things could affect your ability to collect Social Security
Yeah,
disability.
It's like if you got a quarterly dividend from a stock.
Right.
Go see an estate attorney. I know a lot of people don't like to think about that, but they should think about that. As you get older? I mean, I'm going to tell you point blank. I mean, as I got older, and you might find this hard to believe, but as I got older, you have to think about your ending, if you will, and make those provisions. And my wife and I, listen, I mean, everybody can do what they want. We went to, you probably know Megan DiLoretto, don't you, Mark? I mean,
I do.
Yeah. So we went to see her. She was phenomenal. She is so good, and organized our affairs for when we leave this planet, and who knows where we go. And I made sure I left a good sum to you, Mark.
Well, I know where you're going, Ron. I know where you're going. Straight up to see the big guy.
Or somewhere hot.
But you need an expert like that's in estate planning to say, okay, do you need a trust? Do you need a will? To do that type of planning?
Yeah, as much as I don't want to acknowledge it or think about it, it is the prudent and wise thing to do to get your affairs in order. And it's never too early to start doing that, Ron. You're right.
Because there's a 5-year look back period. It's certainly, I would encourage everybody Now, Mark, don't get upset with me, okay? So don't get
Never.
upset with me. But somebody your age should be thinking about it.
I'm only 32, Ron.
Yeah, your waist is 32. Your age isn't 32.
Oh,
You know, I got news for you. I maybe known you 32 years. So I wasn't there at your birth, Devecchio.
No, that's
So-
true. All right, you're right. You're no offense taken. You're 100% right.
You know, like a guy like Melfi. Even Melfi, even though he's a younger guy, he's got a wife and family, and you never know when your number's up. You got to make some arrangements for that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it can be a mess. I know a guy that died and didn't do any of that and didn't have any children and all that stuff. So the state had to, he had an attorney appointed from the probate court, and they had to search out distant relatives who never met him. And ultimately, they got all of his stuff where he could, if he would have put a will together, he could have left it to his neighbors or whatever, you know?
Right? Absolutely.
All right, that's what I'm thinking about. So take my advice, Devecchio. You hear?
I hear. Give me that number when we're off the air.
And Melfi, you better take my advice once in a while too.
yeah, once in a while. Once in a while. Maybe not on everything, but this may be a good idea.
Just come on, throw me a bone, Melfi.
Yeah, I will. No, Ron, I'm just underestimating you. It's fine.
That's right. You're on the air. Hello with our attorneys. Welcome.
Hey, quick question, and if it's something that's been asked too many times, you can let me go.
It's not a camera ticket, is it?
How do we defend ourselves from the illegality of it?
All right, first question to you. Here's an important question. Did you get one? Yes or no?
I've got 10 in a month, like a year ago. Okay, because
Okay.
I live in a school. I live right behind a Youngstown school.
You still don't have the record.
Okay, so you got 10. Now here's my next question to you. Do you own or lease your vehicle?
Oh, I lease it. This is the thing. They just build you. They don't tell you where it was. They don't tell you how fast you were going. They don't say nothing.
If you lease your vehicle, you got to pay them, right, Mark?
That's absolutely right.
Well-
At the end of the lease term, those tickets attach to the vehicle. So in order to get out of your lease to turn your car in, you have to pay those tickets. Now,
You can dispute it with
You-
your leasing company. If you get notification that you get a camera ticket, you dispute it with the leasing company.
you could dispute it also with the issuer of the ticket. When you get the
You have
ticket,
to dispute it within 30 days, but you don't get the ticket until over a month and a half.
Well, let me
after
ask you
it
this.
happens.
Hey, caller, let me ask you a question. No, and I'm not trying to be a smartass. You got the ticket. You're on the picture. You live in the area. What are you
No,
going to
there
do?
is no picture. There's no picture. There is no road. There is no telling me how fast I was going. It just says, "Here's $100."
Did they not send you the
Nope.
thing in the mail?
well, I mean, that
All they
might,
did was send me a light. All they did was send me something that said, "You owe $100 more."
To the leasing company or the city?
The leasing company.
Okay, so they sent the ticket to the leasing company that had the plate. They got the picture of you, and they know you leased the car. What's
How
your
come they
defense?
don't send that to me?
Because they sent it to the leasing company. 'cause
right.
that's who-
You don't own the car.
and they're charging you for it. But let me ask you this, Mark, with all due respect to this caller, and I want you to listen, caller. It's obviously it was this guy. He lives in the area. They got his plate. They got him on the leasing company has a picture of it. You really don't have a defense. I mean, if you wanted to go down, what are you going to plead?
Well, I mean, you might not have the strongest legal defense, but like I've said before, time and time again, well, first of all, you could argue that you're an innocent owner, that you weren't driving the car on that day. That's a legitimate defense.
If they got you in the picture, they're going to look and say, well, this sure as hell looks like you.
Well, and all the, I may have gotten one or two of those tickets in my day. And in every one of those tickets, I recognize the car, but I can't tell who's driving that thing.
You can't see that.
It could be anybody.
That dark brown hair.
It's
that's
just
pushed
no,
back.
it's
Yeah,
just
no.
a shadow. It's not, you can't make out anything inside of that car. All they care about is the license plate number.
And if you think wearing those Groucho Marx glasses that you wear at trick or treat time disguises you, I could still.
No, what gave it away is I was flipping the bird outside the window.
Yeah.
That's what gave it
That's
away.
the pattern.
Hey, I got a question. I mean, I think they outlawed these things in many jurisdictions throughout the country.
Not cities.
No.
Right. Not to see it. Exactly.
You know, you got to pay it because you're leased. In all seriousness, you got to pay it. Can I just say one other thing before we let you go? And I don't mean to hurt your feelings.
Well, don't bend me over like these people.
All right, I'm not going to bend you over. I'm not even going to give you a hug. But you know it's there. You got 10 tickets. Slow the hell down, okay? Like, really, seriously.
But you know what? Just additional information to the callers. You can file, you can respond and say you can test it. You could go to the court, and typically they will work with you. They'll work with you. I think they'll give you credit for just showing up the hearing date, and maybe they'll reduce the fine to $5. I mean, there's always arguments you could make in mitigation to try to get some kind of relief. That's kind of been my experience. So if you go there, if you have a good reason, if there's something, you might be able to, it may not cost you $100. Well, no, you're not going to win. You're going to admit it, but maybe they'll work with you on the fine. That's all I'm saying.
You know what gets me is clearly the guy says he lives there. So he's, they got the picture ticket, the lease company. So he did it. And he's saying, well, is there a way for me to get out of it? Did I not give him the best advice? Here's how you get out of it. You slow down in those school districts.
That's the best advice in the world. Sometimes that's not always the practical advice when you're 10 minutes late for a hearing.
I got the second piece of advice for him. Do you know what that would be? Let me see if you can figure out if that's the first piece. Do you know what the second piece of advice would be? You guys,
maybe give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going.
No.
Okay.
Melfi, what? Now, Melfi, I'm going to help you out. So you look super. Okay.
I appreciate that.
If in fact you can slow down, that's my first piece of advice. If you don't want to do that, then maybe you shouldn't your car. And
Lease your
car. Are we playing?
Or maybe you should take a different route to wherever you're going. Like stay off of.
I mean, his other answer, and see how smart Melfi is. The other way out of it is to stop leasing your car and own your car, and then you'll never have to worry about it. You can throw them out.
That's true for the time being.
An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. Don't speed, you don't get the ticket.
There you go. All right. I threw you one there, Melfi.
Yeah, that was on a tee. It was a softball on a tee.
Right. I mean, that was right over the plate at like 50 miles an hour, man. If you couldn't hit that one in the
I would have put that one in the gap, no doubt.
No doubt. You're on the air. Hello.
You know Gary Gillespie.
All right. You're not on the air. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
All right. I live in a city that has an ordinance that there is no open ditches. So, with the excessive rain that we've had over the last, since the ditch, I had open ditches across the street from my house. The city has taken it upon them to fill it in and not put any kind of drain line, any kind of sewer line, any kind of drainage.
They didn't put a pipe in there and fill it in.
Correct.
All right.
And with the rain and the excessive runoff, it's now causing damage throughout the neighborhood.
What kind of damage?
It's my basement's now leaking. My foundation is a little shaky on the front end. And I don't know if it's the city that's liable because the guy about a quarter mile away, he owns a business, a tree business, and he filled in his land with the wood chips. He's altered his landscape so he doesn't get any kind of runoff across his property anymore. So over the past 7 years, that's settled. He's altered his landscape, and now all the rain runoff from a neighborhood away, 2 neighborhoods away, is now coming down, directing right down my road and into my neighborhood, to my road and the road behind.
Let me ask you a question before I turn you over to the attorneys. You do realize, I mean, despite everything that you just said, you do realize we've had like 4 inches, or we've had an uncanny amount of rain that's just ridiculous how much rain we've had. And there's probably, I'm going to bet, a pretty good deal that you would have these same problems even if they didn't do any of that based on the amount of rain. Because if you're getting it in your basement, as you say you're doing, then you got a problem with your footer drains. Do you have a sump pump?
I No, I do not.
All
I
right.
never had water until they filled in the ditches.
All right. Well,
Well, the first thing we could address is you said, I don't know who's liable, the city or the
Yeah.
county. I have bad news. It's really hard to win a lawsuit against the city or a county because they're government entities and they have
immunity.
sovereign immunity. So you can't, only under rare circumstances can you sue the city, can you sue the county, can you sue any government or government entity. So that's one problem. The issue is remediating it, getting it fixed. So I don't know if he should go to a zoning meeting or something and
Yeah, go to a
and-
zoning meeting
and
That's-
discuss, when they have time for comments, explain the situation.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get somebody out to fix it. You call the township. I mean, where I live, Boardman Township.
That's the problem. The cemetery, I live next to the cemetery. They don't want to own the water problem. The city doesn't want to own the water problem. And it's never been like this until that guy altered his landscape.
or fill the
So I
ditch
don't
in.
know.
What about the ditch? I mean, how do you fill a ditch in without putting a pipe in it?
Well, I don't know. Because the neighbor who did it was on a tip with the city, and he said, "You have these open ditches while you have this ordinance. I'll pay to fill it in. You pipe it, or vice versa." He offered to pay one of the two, and they never did, and he just filled it in. And it's
Okay,
nothing-
I got it here. Watch this, guys. Is it a state route?
no.
Okay, if it's a state route, I really had it. You could have really got him on that because you can't fill that in. You got to get permission. Well, I think he's got a legitimate complaint with zoning because he shouldn't have filled that ditch in because without a pipe, Mark. You
Yeah.
probably gave him good advice.
No, I agree.
I gotta hand it to you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if he's flooding, he's never flooded before. What a terrible problem. And if it was caused by negligence, you'd like to try to get it rectified.
You got a big immunity
Yeah.
problem, though.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good
You
luck.
should probably, yeah, good luck. Usually, if it's coming in your basement, though, you have a footer problem. Where your footer drains. Mark, am I talking over your
Typically.
head?
No, I'm familiar with the footer.
Right. I mean, and that drains into. He's probably got what we call gravity drain. He doesn't have a sump pump, and it goes out. Maybe he has tree roots in it or something. But how does he know that caused a problem with all this rain we've been having? Everything is so saturated. The ground.
And then 2 neighborhoods away, that could become a little tenuous proving that.
Yeah, could be tough. All right, stand by. I got 2 of the best on the program tonight. Attorney Melfi and Attorney DeVecchio. Legal show brought to you by B. It's 56 degrees. This is the Legal Show on Thursday till 6 o'clock tonight, brought to you by Beatrice Cop. Our phone number with 2 lines open if you want to call, 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977. 330-729-9977. If you have a legal question, pick up the phone, give us a call. Great advice coming tonight from attorney Mark DeVecchio and attorney James Melfi from the law firm of Beatrice Cop on News Radio 570 WKBN. And you're on the air. Hello.
So I have a real problem. My neighbor has a problem with their
All right. I don't care about your problem. That's that crank call.
I know. I recognize the voice.
Really, he spends all of his free time on hold, and I keep hanging up on him. I mean, I don't quite know what the motivation is there, but you know what? I kind of enjoy it. I must confess.
Adds a little bit of a comic element to the show.
Wait, we don't have a big enough comic element?
Well, I think he adds a little bit of revelry, and maybe he just creates enough of like we have no idea what's going to happen next.
Well, the real problem is when David's not here, it takes a lot of ammunition away from me to crack some jokes.
That's right.
Oh, it's not fair picking on the great one.
Oh, I mean, it's low hanging fruit. It truly is.
Right. Although I bet you Frank really got even with them this week after last legal.
Oh,
You have to send Ron a picture of the board.
the board.
Oh my God, Ron, it's hysterical.
Hysterical.
Good. Nothing makes me happier than that. You know what I mean? Nobody messes, with Frank as far as I'm concerned.
It's up there with the calendar. It really is.
Yeah,
up
we'll
there
send
with
you a
the
copy.
calendar.
Okay, great. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for. Attorney DeVecchio, Attorney Melfi. Let's see what I have here. I don't know which ones I can go to. Hello.
a snow cone.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. What's your question?
I'm a landlord down here in Lisbon. My problem is these two people, the tenants, they broke up. He took off. She took off. He told me that what was left in there, and I found them, was Grandma and Grandpa. They just left them there. So anyhow, but
Wait. Back it up a little bit.
You found them how?
Yeah. You please define this for us.
yeah, their ashes in a vase.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, they're not paying rent.
So they're just hanging around.
All right. Okay.
So I called and I can't get I got a hold of her because it was supposedly her grandma and grandpa. She said she would show up and give me the time. I was there. She never showed up. So I called the police department. I said, what do I do with grandma and grandpa? You know, I don't want to be accused of mutilating the body or whatever.
Yeah.
He said, so they come on.
Too late for that.
They put me on hold, and they come back on and says, you got to take them to a funeral home. So I called the funeral home, and I said, all right, I give them the situation. They said, well, we don't want them back.
Right.
So I've had them now for almost a year. What do I do with them so I don't get in trouble?
Isn't it sad? Let me just start, caller. Isn't it sad that those people passed away? They're the grandma and grandpa to this person, and they got their ashes, and that they care so little to go claim their ashes. I mean, they could easily bury them. Or spread them at sea or whatever the case would be. But what should he do? How long's it been?
Well, I don't know how long they've been dead, but them people's been out for probably maybe 8 or 9 months.
So you've had the possession 8 or 9 months.
And you don't want them to put. You don't want to put them on your mantle.
Grandma and grandpa for 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with them. I mean, the police don't want them. The
So
funeral home doesn't want. They said, we don't know what to do with them.
I think you need to put them on notice that if they don't pick up the ashes in so many days, you will dispose them under Ohio law. And in Ohio, you could dispose ashes by scattering them on private property with permission, keeping them in a home urn, or scattering them in a designated area at a cemetery. Ohio law requires ashes to be scattered in a dignified manner, but there are no specific restrictions on locations. You're also allowed to bury ashes in a cemetery. What?
But they're not his. I mean, is he stuck as a landlord just to put them in the garage until she cleans?
No, I mean they're abandoned.
Yeah, they're
I
abandoned
don't think you're
property.
gonna get a hold of her. I tried, and she just doesn't respond. I mean, I don't know where she's at now. You know, the phone's been changed. I mean, I
Can't get a
no way
forwarding
to get a
address.
hold of anybody.
Did they stiff you on the rent?
You think?
Okay.
Yeah, they did. They left Grandma and Grandpa. They're not going to pay me the rent for anything.
How
you
much
know?
rent did they stiff you for?
I don't know. I just go on. I just move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're scoundrels.
But-
Did they wreck your apartment or your home?
I've been working on it for 8 months.
So you're telling me they destroyed the place you rented them, plus they didn't pay rent, plus they left their grandma and grandpa's ashes.
That sounds like
Let me ask you this. Do you think this is crazy? They would sit in the garage. There's like a porch on the garage, and they opened up the kitchen door, and they would shoot at the target they were shooting at was a stove. They shot the stove. They killed it.
A gas stove?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's stupid.
Tell me about it. You know, they're not very bright. So then he would get into the kitchen and aim towards the garage, and they shot the windows out of the garage. He
Jeez,
liked target practice.
good Lord.
yeah.
What kind of morons did you rent to?
They were good. They come up on the, you know, here's the problem. Landlords don't take them to court, so they're not on the court docket. You look them up and we don't see anything. Okay, you know, because they end up leaving first.
Right, the
Yeah.
last landlord wants to get rid of them. You know what your problem is, and this guy brings up a good point. Attorneys, too much of the law is in the favor of the tenants, not the property owner. You give me an aye, Captain.
You're preaching to the
Yeah.
choir there, Ron. I
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree.
You have to jump through so many hoops before you could legally evict someone.
And I tell people with rentals all the time, you know, they'll be like,
Stay until you have to
they,
leave.
they owe
That's
us,
what I do.
they owe us $1,000. I'll be like, well, I want my 1,000. I said, take the 500 and let them leave because you're never going to get the 1,000.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people all the time. So that's why you can never find them on the court docket because that's the advice we give our landlords.
And if you're looking,
Any chance I get to kick somebody out that's not paying, and I go through the court system, even though it costs me money, because
Right.
I want the next landlord to be able to see that.
Right, right. But boy, I feel for this guy.
I do too.
Can
That's-
you imagine
yeah.
how big of pigs these people would be to do something like that in the place supposedly they're living?
Yeah, there's
Well,
zero respect.
Yeah, there's and there seems to be a lot of that going around.
Grandma and Grandpa in my truck, hoping that I could find somebody. Matter of fact, I was going to walk in to the prosecutor's office and say, "Look, what do I do with Grandma?"
They're not going to take them. You just got to park them in the garage and let it go for a
Or
while.
spread them out in a dignified way. I mean, if you want some light reading in the Ohio Revised Code, section 4717.27 addresses disposing of cremated remains. So if you wanted to read about it,
Even if they're not your own family, they're somebody else's.
well, this deals mostly with authorized agents and things like that, but it's a starting point. It's a jumping off point. I mean, the bottom line is my argument would be, all right, take out the fact that these are someone's ashes. I mean, which makes it kind of weird, but they're still abandoned.
Yeah.
Okay. They're abandoned. The person that finds them really has no duty except to act in a reasonable manner, trying to locate the owner. And if the owner's gone and they're abandoned, then I think the law allows you to dispose of them in a dignified way.
This is a very bad bar exam question. It really is.
I think it's pretty easy. I think it's pretty cut and dry, unless I'm way off.
I think it's really sad, the whole thing. It's
horrible.
I agree.
It's terrible. All right.
I don't want to do it in some manner that then
Right.
somebody, when they end up showing up, how
Right.
much time later, they're going to, well, we're here to get Grandma and Grandpa. Well, wait a minute. I tried getting a hold of you. Nobody ever's calling me. Nobody's doing nothing.
Yeah,
And then they keep moving around. So now I've lost all contact.
they're not
with them.
going. They're not going to come because they know they owe you money and destroyed your house. And they're scoundrels.
You know what I would do just for the sake of protecting myself, and there's no legal basis for this. In the law, we have something called the Ohio Daily Legal News. And when we can't locate individuals that we want to sue, you have something called service by publication, which means you run an ad in the legal news for a prescribed period of time. At the end of the period of time, the other party is deemed served. You are deemed to have good service. If I were you, I'd see how much it would cost to take a couple lines out in the newspaper that, to the owner of these 2 urns left at this address. I've been attempting to contact you. The urns will be disposed of if not collected within 6 days. Contact X, number or an address, a website, something.
Here's the other piece of advice too. If the Columbiana County Law Library is open to the public, they have a program where you could do an address search on somebody.
That too.
Scoundrels, who cares? All right, thank you.
He wants to
Phone
protect
number.
himself. That's
Yeah.
why he's calling. But I get it. Yeah.
The best way is, luckily they're in urns. They don't take up much space if you let them sit somewhere. But it's
weird.
So disrespects the people that passed away. It's just really, and you see that a lot of times. Have you ever gone on YouTube and seen these closed funeral homes and how they have people who never come back and claim the ashes and that kind of stuff? It's really pathetic.
Yes.
On that kind of stuff, and it's just really troubling. The scoundrels. But I get an eye from both of you guys how the law is too much in the favor of the renter versus the person who owns the property and has the investment there.
I agree. Just for the sake of argument, I would say the law errs to protect someone that may not have a place to stay.
Yeah.
So that's why they stretch it out a little bit longer and make you jump through a few more hoops so that you're not throwing someone out in the street.
And even our advice practically to people that are landlords is, take whatever they're going to give you and cut bait. Because if you have a judgment, you have this piece of paper and you're never going to get a nickel. They're going to give you $500 of the 1,000 and tell them, just take it.
I find a lot of times if you knock on a door and you have a large crowbar in your one hand, it seems to get things moving.
It used to.
Yeah. I go down there with a guy I know. His first name is Lou. I don't know if you know him. All right. You're on the air.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
I have a question on those ashes. Wouldn't a local probate court have anything to do with that? Drop them off at a probate court and let that probate judge decide what to do with those ashes?
Well, you're assuming a couple things. One,
there's an estate open.
Yeah, that there's an estate, or that the deceased are residents of the county. They could be from somewhere else.
I'll tell you.
If he doesn't want any responsibility,
I don't know that the probate court would take them.
I'm going to local probate court and say, here, these were left at my residence. I don't want to be responsible for them, and I would think the court would have to accept them.
No, they don't.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna put 2 urns on the counter of the probate clerk's
And
office,
run.
and they're gonna say, "Get those out of here." Yeah, we don't. want
Although the
those.
next time I see Judge Russo, I'm going to ask him, because that's an interesting question.
Well, I would have thought because they handle a lot of death things with people dying and so forth.
Yeah, but they don't dispose of bodies or ashes or anything.
But you have to invoke the power of the court by opening an estate. If there's an estate open, that's one thing.
But they're still not responsible for the body or the remains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't deposit personal property with the probate court.
He didn't want responsibility.
Yeah, they won't take them. The probate
no.
court will deal with an estate and the assets of a deceased. They're not going to deal directly with the body of the deceased in any capacity.
I'm just sitting here thinking life goes on, Mark, and then all of a sudden, are you ready to Vecchio?
Yeah.
We all become just dust in the wind.
Yeah, Ron, these are all just seasons in the sun.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
I'm
Yeah.
so lost right now.
Put the
I
wine
know
in the
Dust in the
song.
Wind. Yeah, I don't know this
We're
one.
doing Dust in the Wind. Who was that? Kansas?
That was Kansas. The house band opened a couple shows for Kansas.
Yeah, and Terry Jacks with We Had Joy, We Had Fun.
Yeah.
Seasons in the Sun.
Which is, incidentally, since you brought that up several shows ago, it is truly the saddest song ever recorded in the history of music.
Right, but it was a big hit at the time that it came out. You ever
That's
hear
right.
a house band? I'm going to tell you my favorite house band song is Love Train by the OJs. They do it great. The OJs are from Canton, Ohio originally. Did you know
Yes,
that?
they are. The Levert family. There's a large Levert family in the Canton,
Did you
Akron,
say
Cleveland
Levert-
area.
Levert?
Levert. Oh, Levert.
Ron's long lost cousins.
You.
But that was I always thought you guys did that one excellent.
Well, thank you.
as well as like you got to do Backstabber. Remember the OJs and Backstabber?
Oh, absolutely. Love that song. I love that song.
Follow, yeah, I'm going way back. Melfi won't get this. You remember the Turtles, Happy Together?
Yeah. What was yeah.
Old songs.
What was the Turtles? What was their other name? Not Jan and Dean. There are two names.
Mark, you're looking at me like I know.
That's true.
I mean,
Rick,
seriously.
you wanna know the most interesting song.
Flo and Eddie. Flo and Eddie. That's what they were called.
The most. What his first name is Gary. I got to think of his last name. The guy that actually wrote and physically recorded the song that became the hit of Nana Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye was a guy in the record. He did the record, and they put it out under a group called Steam, and they were not the ones that ever recorded it or wrote it. And it's an interesting story if you look at that.
Wow.
It's a huge song. The guy who wrote it.
Was it Gary Glitter?
No, it was. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's a song. He came up with the Nana Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye, and he wrote it. He recorded it. It's his voice on the record, and somehow they come up with a group called Steam to go on the road, which had nothing to do with the record.
Well, they did a lot of that back in the 60s and 70s. The Archies, remember Sugar Sugar? There was no group called the Archies. Those were all studio musicians.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, so now the guy that actually recorded it, I saw him on television. I think he's passed away, but his voice is just like on the record and that kind of stuff. And he tells the story about it. He always got the royalties from it and everything like that. So,
well, as long as he got the royalties, he made out okay. A lot of those guys back then wrote those songs and didn't end up with the royalties. That's a real tragedy.
It really is. I mean, it's interesting, some of the stuff that's happened in like the world of music and that kind of stuff over the years.
That's true.
And not so much anymore these days, but I mean, some of the stuff you guys do in a house band are some of the classic songs over the years. Oh, man.
Well, let me tell you something. I told the guys in the band, I said, I'll play a little bit. I don't want to play too much. And I said, go ahead, book some gigs. They booked like every weekend this summer. So the house band will be there. We'll be somewhere every single weekend.
I just saw, where are you going to be? I just saw an ad or heard something where you're going to be the house band.
Well, this weekend we're playing a party at your favorite place, the MVR, for the Cassis family. Mm-hmm. And then the 24th, we're at the Magic Tree. And the weekend after that, we're at Steel Valley Brew Works. And then the festival season starts. So we're playing, the Slovenian Fest at the amphitheater, the Italian Fests, a lot of church, festivals. So, I mean, I enjoy it. I love it. It's a lot of fun. But, it's a lot of work too.
Well, it's a pretty good sized band though. I mean, there's you and how many guys?
It's a 5-piece band with the production staff and all that. Yeah, it's it takes a lot to put it on.
Right, and I'm happy to say RDNA is your son, right?
RDNA is my nephew's, and my son filled in for one of my nephews when he was away at NYU. He has now since graduated and reclaimed his spot. My son's an auxiliary member, but and the drummer of the house band, his son plays drums in RDNA. So that's why it's called RDNA, because you have two factions of the house band that are represented in RDNA. So that's pretty cool.
I think that's very cool. I mean, if any of you ever get a chance to hear the house band, that's DeVecchio's band. DeVecchio's a great attorney, but he's also the house band's been around for how long, Mark?
Since the 90s, 91.
Yeah, a lot of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of years. But when you hear these guys do some of the classic songs over the years, gang, it sounds just like, it's hard to imagine when you do the OJs, it sounds just like the OJs, which is the goal, right?
Well, absolutely. We want to take everybody on a little musical journey, and we try to play stuff that makes people happy, and we play good party music, and it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing in the summer. I really am.
So you don't think if you add Seasons in the Sun, it's a good party song? I
think we'll clear the room. And it wouldn't be the first time either.
I think that's something that must be considered for just the slow dance.
Maybe.
You always got to You always got to throw one of those in. Boom, boom. I mean, the guitar work on that, Mark, is excellent. What instrument do you play, Mark?
In the band, I play the guitar. I'm capable of making a noise on several different instruments, but I'm mainly I play guitar, I play harmonica, I play percussion stuff. That I'm mainly the front guy. I'm the lead singer mostly.
Can you play bass guitar?
I played the bass guitar with RDNA when they needed a bass player. So yes, I can. A little bit of keyboard. Yeah, just enough to fake my way through a song or two.
But DeVecchio is really good for those of you that, if you get a chance to go out and see the house band. I mean, he's a great attorney, but I'm telling you, every time I see the house band, I think, boy, these guys are really, really good for where they are in our community. I mean, I just say, when you hear local bands, you never think they're going to be that good, and most times they're not. But when you hear the house band, they they really are doing an outstanding job.
Well, you have to keep your streak up. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Back in the day, I mean, you remember all the great bands that used to perform at the Park Inn, like Graphic Pink? And,
oh yeah,
there was a lot of good bands.
This town has had good musicians since the 50s, Ron. I mean, there have been major. I mean, the Human Beings are from here. They had a big hit. I had a chance to play with Ting at the amphitheater from the Human Beings. There's always in the 70s with Left End, and the guys from the Michael Stanley band were here. Guys from the Pat Benatar band are from Youngstown. So, I mean, there's always been great musicians here. And I guess the bar scene, I don't know what to attribute it to. Maybe
changed, Mark, over the years. Used to be most bars would have a band. Now most do not.
I don't think people go out as often to bars. I really don't. I don't think they go out like they used to. Every bar would be packed and they would stay out late. And we don't do that anymore.
No.
Yeah, Melfi wouldn't remember, but like if you take a place like the Park Inn back in the day, that was just a hell of a place. It was one of a kind, that facility, and it drew a great crowd back then.
Absolutely.
What's the Park Inn? Ron, just for reference.
Park Inn was on Glenwood Avenue.
I was born in 93, so that's just for reference.
Which is odd because I was born in 91.
And then the Park Inn was replaced by the Magic Twanger. There were some. Yeah. That was a good time.
Today, where I'm sitting right now.
That's right. When we used to do the radio show there on site, I used to like walking around the place. Obviously, you got a lot of restricted areas.
Still over there, the performance stage from the band.
A lot of memories on that stage. A lot of New Year's Eves we played at the Magic Twanger. So we have. It would be pat. You couldn't move. It was awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And those days just seem to disappear for some reason.
And a shout out to all the people that came to all those gigs all through the 90s and the early 2000s. It was great seeing them. And every once in a while, I run into people that I used to see every weekend. And it's really good to see, a lot of people still come out to hear the house band, which is awesome. And I was going to say, you can't break your streak. You've come out every summer to see at least a show or two. So
you're right.
Yeah.
As time gets on, so a lot of times you'll find a house band that'll be appearing at various nursing homes where they kind of push them out.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of you've been around that long.
Well, no, I mean, here's a true story. I got to tell you, back in the day, I would look out into the crowd and, not to make, but I would look out and I see all young girls and young guys. And now I look out into the crowd and I see, walkers and oxygen, tanks and, it's, and hey, I see you, right? Exactly.
You look at that. At least I bring my younger wife with me.
Yes, you do. She gives you a little street cred. That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's, I might be there, but at least it's a hell of a band. And you know what, Melfi, you missed some great, it was really some wonderful times. But did Gerard have anything like that, Mark, back in the day in that area at all?
Gerard. I know we've played Gerard. Oh, the golf place,
Golf Dome.
Yeah, the Golf Dome ran bands. They used to get some crowds. Kuzman's. Kuzman's was out there.
It was all polka, wasn't it?
No, they played oldies on Fridays. They filled Dirt and the Doziers. Remember that band? They were really good.
Yes, I do.
So they played at the what did I say? Kuzman's, yeah, Kuzman's. They play there a lot. Right. I played banjo with a lot of polka bands back in the day at Kuzman's.
Oh yeah, I mean, those were some great times. Kuzman's, that was when I think of that, I think of polka all the time and that kind of stuff. But I think that music has pretty well died out for the most part. I can't see
Polka music.
Polka.
Yeah.
Oh
Polka,
no,
polka?
polkas will never die out.
Polka
They'll
King
never.
of the Midwest.
There isn't anybody that's younger, including me, that would ever want to go see a polka band.
Well, let me tell you
Their
something.
fathers.
I played in a polka band. I played banjo, and you'll see kids there. I'm telling you, you'll see younger kids. There's a place. There's the Chardon Polka Band are young kids, and they're packing houses with young kids. I'm telling you, it's not polka music is not dead. In fact, they're trying to make it cooler. They're trying to make it cool.
I have a
Just-
hard time buying
The
this.
check out the Chardon Polka Band. You'll be amazed. Yes.
Good luck with that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for just doing. Thank you, DeVecchio. You're a great guy, and Melfi, thank you, and thank you guys for tuning in and calling. It's the Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Cop with attorney Melfi and DeVecchio. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Look
Ron.
forward to
Thanks,
next
Ron.
week.
Made for this mountain. Listeners to rise above their struggles and face the mountain in front of them. So
We
join
must not
Metro
have
Health
any
and
calls at the
focus
end.